sell themselves better than I can. So I'm going to start with Tima. Do you want to just give like a quick introduction of who Tima is, what you're working on? Give them kind of a quick bio of Tima Elhajj.
Thanks, Belinda. Hi, everyone. What an amazing room. There are so many people in this room. So you've done an amazing job, Belinda. And I'm really, really excited to be on the panel with Amelia and you too as well, Belinda. So, okay, so I run a company where we specialize purely just on LinkedIn, and we help CEOs build personal brands on LinkedIn. So in a nutshell, we practically do everything for these CEOs and founders. And also we do work with key individuals and executives of the company. But our purpose is really to help them connect with others on a human level through content. And that's where the purpose-driven content comes into play. And I guess a little bit more about myself, Belinda. I'm not sure if you wanted me to share this, but I do speaking as well. And I also host a podcast as well. So I'll leave it there.
Amazing. Amelia, do you want to go next? Give us a little bio of who Amelia Sordell is.
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much for having me. I'm super pumped to be here and so nice to finally speak, Tima. We've been on so many of these things together, but never have actually spoken. So yeah, my name's Amelia Sordell. I run a personal branding agency called Clout. We do probably quite a similar thing to Tima in that we manage typically entrepreneurs, founders, and leaderships profiles on and offline. So we work on LinkedIn, we work on Instagram, TikTok, we do talent management, we get people, speaking gigs, we host podcasts for people, we produce podcasts for people. We're basically a full service creative agency for leadership, entrepreneurs, and founders, essentially to help people leverage their personality to gain a competitive advantage. Because I think people have this massive misconception about what personal branding is. It's essentially leveraging the personality you have, but also the reputation you have and just scaling it out. So hopefully we can debunk some of your myths today around what personal branding is and how you can build one. And hopefully, as Belinda said, leverage, your personality to win big this year.
Amazing. It's literally leveraging your personality. I love that line. I think that's so true. I want to jump in and really try and get some of these questions out as fast as I can, because I know you guys have a ton of information you want to share to the audience. So the first question that is really simple and basic, but I just want to get it out there. What is personal branding in a nutshell?
Should we say like who you want to answer first, and then like we won't.
Yeah, Amelia, Tima, whoever feels comfortable answering.
Like, what was the question? Sorry, what is a personal brand?
Yeah, like what is personal branding? Because people always get mixed between personal brand and a brand, like a company brand.
Yeah.
What is personal branding? And then let's lead into what's the difference between a personal brand and a business brand.
Yeah, sure. So for me, can you hear me? It says here I'm on mute.
You were just on mute. We can hear you now.
Okay, fabulous. So I think the key thing about personal brand is people need to realize that a personal brand isn't this big shiny object. It's literally who you are. Like it's your authentic self online. What the hell does that mean though, right? Because I'm a marketing person. I feel like marketing people inherently throw out these words like be authentic online, be yourself, build your personal brand, and no one actually understands what that means. Personal branding essentially is you choosing specific parts of your personality and specific parts of who you are as a human being and building a strategy around it in order to let people know what those bits are at scale. So what I mean by that is, if I was 100% authentic online, right? There are some things that I might say or do that will probably upset a lot of people because I'm a very different person around a dinner table than I am, online. And that's not because that's inauthentic. That's because I'm not sharing 100% of who I am online, because that doesn't help me achieve my goals. That's not going to help me, win more revenue for my business. It's not going to help me win more candidates for my business. It's not going to help me position myself as an expert in personal branding globally, right? So if we revert that back kind of to the original question, what is a personal brand? A personal brand is your reputation. It is who you are, but it's fun to get in front of and get them to know you for specific things to enable you to reach your goals. So I want to be known for personal branding. I want to be known as an entrepreneur, someone who's scaling clout, my business. I also want to be known as a leader in order to attract candidates for my business. And so all the content that I put out, almost exclusively on LinkedIn, is centered around one of those three topics. Now, that's not to say that those three topics can't chop and change and you can't, evolve as you grow, and equally that you can't post things outside of those topics. But those three things have to be at the center of what your personal brand is, because ultimately, if you're going to build a reputation for something, you need to continually talk about something in order to build that reputation. So that's what a personal brand is. To your secondary question about what the difference between company branding is and personal branding is, a company brand can be made up, right? Anyone can go to a branding agency and say, hey, I'm launching this product, I'm launching this thing. Can you help me build a brand? And they will go out and build their values, build their tone of voice, build their colors even. And that's something you can invent. You can't invent a personal brand. You already have a personal brand, Tima. Anyone on this call already has a personal brand. You have a personal brand with the people that you work with. You have a personal brand with the people that you see in the street, the person that made your coffee this morning, the person that serves you a glass of wine this evening, like whatever it might be. You have a personal brand with every single person that you meet. You can't create that. It's not invented. And I think the key difference here is with a company brand, you're quite limited as to what you can do and say, right? Because you are representing a brand. But if you're the founder of a brand, you're the employee of a brand, or you're an executive of a brand, you can be a lot more tactile, a lot more candid, and a lot more human. This is like this human marketing piece with the things that you say and the things that you do, and take people on that journey with you. Because let's be honest, a face is so much more attractive than a logo. A story is so much more attractive than a value proposition. So that key difference between the two is that one can be human and one is kind of constrained with how human it can be. But I just want to be clear that you can't have one or the other, right? If you want to be successful in business in any degree, you have to have a personal brand as a founder, like tell your founder story, but also have a strong company brand too.
A personal brand, and then lead into what's the difference between a personal brand and a company brand, because people get confused all the time.
Thank you. Yes, absolutely. And I just wanted to make something clear. Maybe no one noticed, but I accidentally clicked on the laughing emoji. Amelia, when you were talking, I wasn't laughing at what you were saying. I accidentally clicked the wrong button. But anyway, moving on. I agree with everything that Amelia said, and I don't want to repeat what she said. But what I will say is, if I say the word Tesla, who do we all think of? I mean, we think of Elon Musk. And when we think of Elon Musk, where does our mind take us? It takes us to his story. It takes us to where he started. We think of PayPal. We think of how he's disrupted the world. We think of Twitter now. We think of Neuralink. We think of Mars. We think of everything he stands for, freedom of speech and a whole range of things. So that's how powerful a personal brand can be. And again, Richard Branson has done an incredible job. Once again, if we think of Virgin, we think of Richard Branson and everything that he's been able to create in the world. And to echo what Amelia is saying is, it isn't a made-up thing. It is exactly who you are. And it's all about, how do you bring that into the digital world so that people can familiarize themselves with who you are, what your values are, what you stand for, and really just packaging that in a way and communicating that in a way where it actually connects with people. And I think having a personal brand is literally one of the most influential way that you can communicate and connect with people in the world. And I mean, there's really not much more to add to what Amelia said about a business brand. I think that we are at a point in the world now where we are so much more beyond than just wanting to work with a company or to buy from a company. We are so much more in tune with just humans, and we just want to know more about the people that run these companies. And it's all about connection at the end of the day. If I could just summarize it in a very short word, it really is just all about connection.
Agree. There was like a TikTok video that I seen the other day from a big branding guy, and he was saying people that are not using faces as employees on their brand in 2023 are absolutely not going to kill it in 2023 when it comes to brand awareness, because people relate to people more than an actual logo. So I totally agree with what you guys are saying. That leads me to the question of, what are the steps? Like, everybody wants to know, okay, when I look at Amelia and when I look at Tima Elhajj, you girls are just so massive online. You guys constantly post, you're constantly everywhere, your face shows up everywhere. This stuff is like a full-time job. And for somebody that works full-time and has other things on the side or whatever that they do, they just simply don't have the time to do this whole personal branding thing. It's quite daunting. So where would somebody start, and what are the steps to reach to 100,000 plus following count like the both of you?
I think the key thing is this. I started look, I run a personal branding agency, right? So it's very easy for me to sit here and go, build your personal brand. It's great. Like, you find the time, whatever. But the reality of the matter is, I started building my personal brand when I was employed full time, right? So I had no aspirations of building a personal brand whatsoever. I noticed very quickly, I was working as a headhunter, much like you be. I was working as a headhunter, and I worked out really fast, actually, that I could generate more revenue by building credibility with the people that I need to be building credibility with. And the quickest way to do that was to do that online, because it meant that I wasn't having to have a one-to-one conversation. I could have a one-to-many conversation, right? It's a lot easier to reach, many, many people. For any of those that are listening, who've been a headhunter before, you're targeted typically with 100 calls a day. And to me, that sounds incredibly inefficient when I could reach 1 million people a day online, right? So I want to kind of caveat that with, I understand, I get it. I understand the time element. However, I think the easiest kind of answer to all of this is, if you have a clear strategy and you build a system to enable you to be able to have your face everywhere, much like you said, there is work involved for sure. I'm not going to sit here and say it's easy, but I've generated a system now. So there is no day that I have nothing to post, because I have hundreds of thousands of things in my phone and sound bites and things that I've come across and documented or whatever. So there's never a day where I wake up and go, shit, I've got nothing to say today. So I think the first thing is this: you need to be super, super clear on what your goals are. So, what do you want to get out of this? Like, what is the whole point? Because there's no point in you sitting here being like, I want 100,000 followers. Why do you want 100,000 followers? Because the reality is, to get to 100,000 takes a bit of a graft. And unless you have like a very clear goal in mind as to why you need to reach that figure, there is no point in you even bothering. Like, it's just irrelevant. So what are your goals? Is it that you want want a new career? You want a new job? Do you want to generate more money for your business? Do you need to improve your employer brand of your company? Do you, want to get funding for your new business? Do you need to exit at some point, and so you need to build your personal brand to increase the valuation of your business? So what are the clear goals that you want? Or is it, do you want to be a thought leader? Do you want to be on podcasts? Do you want to do speaking gigs? Whatever it might be, but figure out what the goals are, I think, first and foremost. The second thing is, what do I need to be known for, and to whom, in order to achieve that goal? So it's not just I'm sitting here being like, who are you? And then talk about that. There has to be some strategy behind this. Otherwise, you're just shoving stuff out there and seeing what sticks. So, what do you need to be known for, and to whom? So for me, as I said earlier, I want to be known as someone who's scaling a fast growing agency. I want to be known as someone who's an expert in personal branding. And I want to be known as someone who's a good leader and talks about leadership topics, because I need to be generating candidates for my business. So the leadership piece is where that comes in. I need to be generating business for my business, which typically are entrepreneurs and founders. And so when I speak about scaling clout, there's a lot of synergies there that I attract a lot of business owners and a lot of entrepreneurs into my network. And then the personal branding piece is where I build my authority. They're like, wow, okay, so now you're an entrepreneur in my network, and you see that I'm talking about personal branding and I'm adding kind of value to you. And that way you then come to buy from me if you're the right fit. So work out what you want to be known for, what your goals are, and who you need to be known to. So who is your audience? So for me, it's executives and founders and entrepreneurs. For you, it might be a headhunter. For you, it might be a recruiter. For you, it might be a hiring manager. For you, it might be a candidate. Like, who are the people that you need to be known for, and what topics do you need to be talking about in order to become known to those people? So those are the first 3 steps that I would take. The next thing that I would do is I'd start speaking about those topics. So, if you've decided that you want to be known for marketing, social media, and mental health, start talking about those topics everywhere. So, jump on as many of these audio things as possible. Go and do some lives on Instagram. Go and speak to, go post stuff on LinkedIn about those topics. And the quickest way, I cannot stress this enough for anyone, the quickest way to get mass quantity, which by the way, you can't have this quality or quantity conversation. It's you have to have quantity and quality, right? The quickest way for you to get a large volume of quality content out there is to go and appear on as many podcasts as humanly possible, or better yet, sit there and ask someone to interview you for an hour and ask you questions about the 3 topics that you've agreed as part of your strategy, and then pay someone on Fiverr to chop those videos up into micro pieces of video content, transcribe the entire audio, and now all of a sudden you have an entire text plan that you can share on LinkedIn, and an entire video plan that you can share on other platforms as well. I do 1 podcast a week, and from each podcast I get about 170 pieces of content. So don't be as lazy as possible with this stuff. As I was saying a minute ago, yes, there is time involved, but it doesn't need to be more than an hour or 2 a month. So that would be my kind of initial thoughts. And if you don't feel like you know what you want to be known for, because let's be honest, that's a loaded question, just post stuff for 6 weeks and just see what happens. And the reason why I say post stuff for 6 weeks is what you'll find naturally is you're commenting on stuff that you're interested in, or you're starting conversations you're passionate about. Naturally, you will work out what you like talking about, what you don't like talking about, and naturally your audience will also tell you what they want to hear from you, what they don't want to hear from you, and that will form your strategy naturally without you having to put in too much effort.
Amazing. That was so loaded. I'm hoping everybody had taken notes while Amelia was talking. There were so many things that you guys can take away from that and start implementing for sure. I don't want to maybe get Tima to go in and answer the same question, because I think there's so much that we can get out of this. We've only got 7 minutes till I ask questions, and then the next 30 minutes you guys are going to jump in and ask questions. So I want to maybe lead into what are the steps, Tima, because it's so confusing. You read so much online on what you should be posting, what you shouldn't be posting, how much can you share your personal life, how much shouldn't you share, what should I be talking about, what shouldn't I be saying, can I swear, can I not swear, what can I do? There's so many things that people are thinking about, and still today I still think about what shouldn't I be sharing and what should I be sharing. It's so confusing. So can you give us kind of a brief of what we should be sharing, how many times a day should we be sharing content, and give us kind of a week or a 30-day plan of what it should look like to have a successful personal brand.
So just to get more clarity, Belinda, when you say what should I be posting, are we talking about, is this personal appropriate, stuff. Is this not appropriate, or?
Yeah, personal stuff, because people ask a lot of questions around what should I be sharing around my personal life? Should I just be posting business stuff? Should I just be posting stuff about my business, my company, my employees, my employer? Or should I also be sharing my kid and talking about my son and having a baby, and talking about listening to a podcast on a walk or something like that? What are the things that you should be sharing and not?
This is probably going to sound harsh, but this is what I say to my clients, that nobody really cares in the beginning what your story is until you have something valuable to be followed for, if that makes sense. So if you are, and this is just my opinion, okay? I'm not sure what you think, Belinda, and what you think, Amelia, but in terms of delving into, stories that are very vulnerable, let's say, or very personal to you, I do not recommend any of my clients to start with those stories in the beginning. And the reason for that is because you want people to actually firstly understand what you're online for, what your mission is, what your why is, and what your vision is, whatever that may be. That needs to be very, very clear through your content. So I always say to my clients, speak through your purpose. Whatever your purpose is, whatever your why is, whatever your mission is, that's the heart piece to your content. And I do understand the importance of being vulnerable and sharing your story, but I do believe that there is a time and a place for that. And I've seen people where they've delved too much into their personal life, and it just hasn't really, like, in terms of numbers, maybe it may generate quite a lot of engagement, but then what happens to that? So what's your next step? So in the beginning, building content pillars and really having guidelines around what you want to be posting about, what you want to be known for. So what are those key topics? It may be leadership, it may be entrepreneurship, it may be finance, whatever those topics are. Delve into those topics first. Build your authority, which means build that trust online. Allow people to really buy in to everything that you're really sharing. Educate them, make them feel as though that they trust you and they feel safe with you. And then once you've built that space, then it's appropriate to, maybe not the word appropriate, but then it's strategic to be able to then share your personal stories. As long as sharing those personal stories, you talk about the challenges, but you talk about how you've managed through them, how you've worked through them, and how you've solved them, because that's really what is going to help the audience and help people in general. Is how did you actually manage to get through that challenge in your life? So I'm a very big believer in absolutely sharing the human side, but be very mindful of when you share it and when is the best time to do it. But I do believe that people care more when they know you a little bit more and have that respect for you. But if you're just going to delve in and just start sharing your life story from the very beginning, it's not going to be very helpful. It's a bit like dating. On your first date, you're not going to sit there and, tell all of your deep, dark secrets in the very beginning. You want to be very mindful of how it unfolds. And it should be similar to like a Netflix series. And it's sort of slowly unfolding and just building that trust and really creating a safe space, like I said, educating, inspiring, and then sharing bits and pieces about you that's actually going to really be helpful to everybody that's watching you.
I'm going to disagree with that slightly if I can. I think it comes back to the person. I don't think there's a right or wrong answer here. I think if you're someone who's naturally a very open and honest and vulnerable person, it doesn't make sense for you to hold that part back of you online. But equally, like, there has to be a strategy, right? Which I think is what you're saying, Tima. I think that's bang on. Like, you have to have a strategy. We have this matrix that I share with clients when we go and do these big workshops. I actually did 2 workshops yesterday with a large business in the UK. And we were talking about, how personal should your personal brand be? And the matrix that I have is, first of all, does it meet your brand pillars? So does it match the things that you want to be known for? And if the answer is yes, then post it. If the answer is no, then okay, so you want to post something that doesn't match your content pillar. So hypothetically, tell a really vulnerable story. Is it going to resonate with your audience? Okay, maybe. Is it going to bring me closer to my goals? Okay, maybe. Then share it. I don't think it's as binary as like you shouldn't be private. I think there are times where it's appropriate to be private because it's going to help you resonate with your audience. A great example of this is I posted a couple of months ago about how, my 5 biggest fuck ups as an entrepreneur. And, I'm trying to attract other business owners. So typically, like, if I'm going out there being like, here's where I failed, there's a risk factor there, right? Because people are going, okay, I'm trusting this woman with my personal brand. She's telling me how she's failed. But the thing is that I knew that vulnerability and sharing those fuck ups was going to resonate with the people that I'm trying to attract. So although it didn't align with my kind of strategy, it was very appropriate for me to share that story because it got me closer to my goal, which was to be known to the audience that I want to be known for, right? So I think the key thing here is what feels right to you. If you want to post pictures of your kid and tell the story about that, then and that feels good to you, then fine. I don't do that personally because it doesn't meet my strategy. It doesn't meet the goals that I want to achieve, and it doesn't meet the audience that I want to attract. So I think that's the key thing to bear in mind here.
Can I just add, B, if that's okay? I just want to make it very clear. I'm not saying there's a right or wrong, and I agree with what you're saying, Amelia. What I'm saying here as well is, we see all this content online, and this is a question I'm asked a lot. Like, should I share this part of my story. And some people feel really pressured to be so personal online because they see so many personal stories being shared. And it's almost become like a Dear Diary online. And again, I know this sounds really harsh, and I know that these human stories are really, really important to share, but there is a real thing called oversharing. And when somebody is oversharing is when they haven't actually talked about how they've moved through the challenges and how this and whatever they did to actually solve the issue or rectify, or maybe even just whatever they did to actually work through the issues and the challenges that they've experienced in their life. And I think that we absolutely need to share these things, but like you said, have a strategy in place. And this is something that I always ask my clients, whether it be my group entrepreneurs that I work with or the CEOs that I work with. Is this, whatever it is that you're posting, is this going to bring you closer to your mission? Is this going to bring you closer, like you said, to your goals? But I refer to it as your mission. Is this bringing you closer to your mission, to your why, and to your vision? And how is this going to make people feel in terms of your audience? Are they going to feel inspired? Are they going to feel like they want to like or comment or share or even send you a direct message? So they're always the two questions that I get my clients to ask themselves before they post anything. And I think that really helps create that neutral element in terms of, if we are questioning just slightly, it could possibly be something that you may not need to share. And don't feel pressured to share personal stuff if you really don't want to. And like you, Amelia, I don't share pictures of my daughter because I don't want my brand to be reliant on her and sharing all the things about what's going on in my life with my daughter. So yeah, I just wanted to add that bit there too.
Yeah, and it's so extremely hard to define what can we share and what can't we share. I think it's a constant, it's a constant thing that we're consistently learning as we post, as we share, as we get feedback. And I think it's like an ongoing thing of what people want to see and what they don't want to see. And I think you just need to kind of post what people want to see more of from you. And I guess just asking the audience constantly, like, what do they want to see more of this year, or what are they enjoying most, and things like that. You girls would know better than me. You guys are the personal branding experts. So, but yeah, I agree with most of what you girls were saying. I'm going to move on to the last question because I know we're running out of time. We've only got 30 minutes left, and I want to get everybody to ask the questions that have raised their hands. The last question I will ask, which is a pretty big one, is how much of an impact has your personal brand had on your success in your career / business / income / revenue? What does that look like at the moment? If
Go ahead,
anyone
Amelia.
can jump in.
Sorry, can you go over the question?
What has your so how much of an impact has your personal brand had on your success in your career, business, revenue, all of that? What does that look like since having a personal brand?
Oh my God, like, it's changed my life. It's funny. I was doing a keynote the other day, and I started off with LinkedIn has changed my life. And I bet no one's ever said that to you before. And I mean, genuinely, like, LinkedIn has changed my life. And what I mean by that is the opportunities, even little things like this right now, right? The opportunities that building my personal brand has created, not just from a financial perspective, which I'll dig into in a second, but from a life opportunity perspective, has just been unbelievable. I've managed to position myself through, not because I'm some fucking genius, but because I've literally just followed a strategy, right, that we've already gone through. I've followed a strategy to position myself as an expert in a specific topic, personal branding. And so now, when anytime there is a need for a keynote, a need for someone to speak on the topic, someone wants a podcast about it, I'm typically one of the first people go to. And I can't tell you how many doors that has opened for me in terms of the businesses that I work with, the people that I'm meeting, the relationships I'm building, the friends that I'm creating. Like, LinkedIn has changed my life. Personal branding has changed my life. I started building my personal brand sort of very loosely in sort of 2018, 2019. And then I was posting maybe once a week, 3 times a week. And from there to now, I've gone from having 1,500 followers to over 130,000 followers on LinkedIn, nearly 200,000 likes on TikTok, huge views on YouTube, and hundreds of thousands of downloads on podcasts. I've spoken at LinkedIn HQ twice, been a part of the influencer marketing show. Like, the opportunities have been huge, right? Both online and offline. But what this all comes back to, right, for me anyway, I'm a business owner, like I'm an absolutely, burning capitalist. Like, where is the ROI on this? We've generated like £2 million in inbound revenue off the back of my personal brand. This year we'll do close to $5 million, 2.5 million pounds in revenue off the back of my personal brand, right? And I think the key thing here is, going back to what I was saying earlier, what are your goals? My goal, absolutely through and through, is to generate as much money as humanly possible for my business and retain that money, and that to be sustainable. Obviously, we have to deliver the work that we're selling. But the other thing is that I want to position myself as the global expert in personal branding. And so, although this topic is about personal branding, and I am, quote unquote, personal branding expert, the key thing for me here is building my personal brand has enabled me to achieve, at least taking the steps to achieve, both of those things. And so, it's changed my life. I don't know really how else to articulate that without sounding really fluffy and ridiculous. Like, the ROI is there, the life-changing moments are there. I've provided a better lifestyle for myself, for my kids. I've been able to hire 12 people. One of the most amazing things about building a personal brand, certainly from a founder's perspective, aside from the revenue piece, is I get inbound messages every single day from people going, I've been following Clout, I've been following you, I want to work for you, how can I get involved? When we headhunt people, they immediately want to speak to us. There's none of this bullshit trying to convince people to want to work for us. It just makes every single conversation easier. You walk into boardrooms with people and they know who you are, they know what you're about. The meeting isn't even to pitch to them, they just want to meet you and see whether the stuff that you say online is correct and in line with what they want. And it's all about just signing deals at that point. So massive, like, I can't stress enough, like, it's been life-changing, and that's all I can say about it.
That's fucking incredible, excuse my French, but the fact that you have generated all of that value in the space of, what was it, Amelia, like 12 months? It's been like 12 months or
so I launched Clout in 2020, right? So the height of the pandemic. So it's been just over 2 years.
That's insane. Just on the back of a personal brand. Insane. I think at one point you were saying all of your business is inbound now. You don't do any outbound now. So it's vast majority inbound.
Yeah, 100% inbound. We don't do any outreach whatsoever. In fact, we've just hired our first salesperson because we have 700 leads sitting in our CRM that haven't gone back to yet because they don't physically have the time. So we've hired this incredible guy to come in and convert that stuff for us.
That is incredible. It just goes to show how much a personal brand can have an impact, not only just on you as an individual, but your actual success of your business. It's insane. Tima, did you want to add in the last question of how much, success has your personal brand given you from a personal level, from a business level, from a career level? What is the impact it's had for you?
Very similar to Amelia, to be honest. I mean, I'll just share something very quickly because I know that there are questions and I don't want to take up people's time with questions, but very much like Amelia, it's cut the sales process down. If anything, I don't really need to sell myself. I just don't need to do it. Very much like Amelia again, I don't do any outreach, and I actually don't need to do outreach. That's been a huge blessing in terms of just being recognised again in rooms, and people, they feel like they know me through my content, which is incredible. And again, that just opens so many doors, and that's been absolutely eye-opening for me. I mean, I was flown to Dubai last year to speak at an event, and that was like my first ever real international paid event where I was treated like a queen, and that was just a whole experience for me. But most importantly, two things, LinkedIn has taught me a lot about human behavior, and that's an asset in itself. But also, it's taught me to be a better business person, and that's been a huge goal of mine for a very, very long time. And I feel that I'm just, getting better and better each day. But very, very similar to Amelia. Gosh, I feel like we're going through the same experiences here, Amelia. But I'll leave it at that because I know you want to get to the questions.
Yeah, thank you so much, Tima, for sharing that. I will get people up on stage now to start asking questions. So whoever wants to ask a question, please raise your hand, and I'll try and bring most of you up to get through questions as quickly as possible. So I'm just going to allow a couple people up. Bear with me. All right, cool. As I'm bringing people up, Raj, I know you were sitting there so patiently for so long. It was great. I need you to go first and ask your question to Amelia and Tima. Go ahead. Raj, are you there? Okay, I think he's away from his mic. Prashant, did you want to come up and ask a question?
Thanks both of you for coming along and providing so much value, by the way. I just got one question that when people are creating personal brand today, it's very hard to pick the right channels to reach the right audience. What's your approach? Like, should we target one channel at a time and then grow multiple channel? How do we actually pick what's the right way of connecting with the audience?
I think great question. I think there's two approaches to this, Prashant. You can do what I did, which is I nailed LinkedIn first. The reason being, I wanted to generate at the time interest from a specific audience, and I knew that audience was on LinkedIn. And it didn't make any sense for me to try and build out other platforms at the same time, because quite honestly, I didn't have the time, I didn't have the resources, and I wanted to make sure I was nailing what I was saying on one channel first. So that can be one approach, and that's certainly an approach that we take with a lot of our clients, is like, let's go where we're going to be generating the best outcome for the goals that we have for that particular client on said channel, and just focus on that first, and then we can start layering stuff up. So it was about 2 years before I went on TikTok, YouTube, or less than 18 months maybe, before I started adding extra layers to that personal brand on LinkedIn. And it also becomes a lot easier to create content and distribute content on those other channels once you've nailed the first one, because you've sort of got your tone of voice correct, you understand what people are resonating with, etc. The other play is, if you are sort of trying to build your personal brand for a specific reason, aka you've got a product launch, or you're about to do a funding round, or whatever it might be, you can run it a little bit like a campaign. So we do these kind of campaign launches with clients between sort of 3 to 6 months. So that might be there's a specific outcome at the end of it that we need to achieve in terms of like press or whatever. And in that case, we just go bang on every single channel. But obviously there is a lot of effort and time that's involved in that type of exercise. You have to have every single thing going, have like a proper strategy, have a proper system in place in order to execute that volume of content over that 3 to 6 month period. So if you're just starting out with this, I would just say focus on the channel that's going to get you closest to your goals first, and then you can start layering up.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, P. Simon, did you want to jump up and ask your question next? Simon, are you there? Okay. Rob, did you want to go next and ask your question?
Sure, yeah. Thank you, Belinda. Really appreciate you having me up, and amazing insights, Amelia and Tima. And this is a great example of collaboration, and that leads to my question. What tips would you give when looking to collaborate in industry with individuals, and perhaps looking to collaborate with people out of industry that you're looking to try and use to leverage your personal brand?
B, you need to answer this question. You're very good at collaborating with others. I'd love for you to answer that question, to be honest.
No, the stage is not for me. It's Tima and Amelia.
Oh, you need to. You're very good at collaborating.
You are the networking queen. You need to be answering this question, B. You brought us all here together.
Tima,
That's an example of
the question. Don't put me under pressure. The stage is yours. Go, Tima. Answer the question.
Oh Oh my goodness.
Pass it off to me.
Well, I think that this is one way to do it, Robert. You know, doing things like this, and you can clearly see that we're all very much in a very similar audience and industry, and there's no jealousy or insecurity here. It's all about just, you know, bringing all these powerhouses together and just collaborating. And I think that the most important thing for me when I'm personally collaborating with anybody or any company is, am I aligned to their visions? Are my values aligned with their values? And that's, honestly speaking, the number one thing that I look at. And if we're not aligned, I just can't collaborate with whoever that is, no matter how big they are, how profitable they are. For me, I just have to pass it. Values are very, very big for me, and I'm very driven by that. So I hope that gives you a little bit of insight, Robert.
I think that's a great piece of advice. Like, align with people that align with similar things to you. I think the key thing is that there's enough. I think this stage is sort of a representation of what I'm about to say. There is enough business in the world for everyone to come together and add collective value to the world about a specific topic. And there is nothing bad that's going to come from having 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 experts coming together, putting their brains together, and then sharing that knowledge with everyone. At the end of the day, the people that are going to win are the people that are A, receiving the knowledge, but B, the 10 people or the 3 people in this case in the room who are giving that knowledge away for free, because you're ultimately listening to us, respecting what we're saying and taking something away from that. So I guess reach out to people, Robert. I know we're connected, like we're in different industries and we know of each other. So it's awesome that you're here. Thanks for joining us. I think reach out to people, give them a reason to want to speak to you. You know, I noticed that you do this. I do that too. Would love to chat to you sometime. People grossly underestimate the value of having in real life conversations. So don't just DM people and, have like WhatsApp relationships. Like, just go out, meet people, tell them you want to take them for lunch. Like, one of the most amazing things about my business is that I've managed to get an office now. And so because we're essentially London based, I now have an opportunity to invite all types of people to come and see our office, an excuse to grab a coffee. So yeah, I don't know if those are any kind of tips, but I would 100% encourage anyone to go and leverage, peers in their industry to build like a collective, opportunity for everyone, for sure.
No, thanks both. Great tips. Really appreciate allowing me to ask my question. Belinda, back to you.
Thanks, Rob. Love to see you here as well. Leisha, did you want to go next?
Hi, everyone. I must apologise in advance. I'm actually out and about having a walk whilst listening, so I hope there's no background noise. I just want to say what an amazing podcast this is. Just so much value for everybody, and it's just got so many insights. But my question is still within the personal branding, but it's slightly changing the vibe to Rob's brilliant question. Obviously, personal branding is something that's unique to every single person. Given that we're talking to leaders here, how do you ensure that somebody that's working within your team is still aligned with your values? I.e., let's say I've got somebody working for me and I'm saying, go for it, talk about your personal story, but actually it's totally inappropriate, but it's authentic to them. What do we do to ensure we don't compromise what we're trying to do collectively, allowing people to have their own personal voices, but not compromising our own integrity as business leaders?
I think that's a really great question, Leisha, and it comes up a lot, as I'm sure you can imagine, the types of stuff that I do. I think the key thing is this. Number one, if you're worried about, this is going to sound combative, and I don't mean it to, but I think it's kind of like hard advice. Number one, if you're worried about what your team are going to say online, I'd be more worried about who is in your team versus what they're actually saying, right? Like, if you hire people who are aligned to your values and bought into your vision and, are really wanting to go on that journey with you, the likelihood of them saying something wrong online is very, very low. I think the secondary point to that is I'd be much more concerned if someone said something bad in a business meeting than if they said it on a vlog or they said it on an Instagram story, they said it whatever. Like, there has to be, there's very few things I'm trying to say that you can say online that's going to damage your brand outside of being like, homophobic, transphobic, racist, etc. And I'd really like to think that every single person in this room is not going to hire someone who has any of those types of views. So that's one thing. The second thing is to give you sort of practical tips on how you can stop said thing from happening, is build a framework. And what I mean by that is build a framework, not a policy. policies aren't interesting. If you can build a framework for people to operate within on social media, then I think that will just put everyone in a really great space, because you're giving people a practical fence to say, right, here is what you can say, and here is what you, all the things that you can go deep into. But if you could just avoid kind of walking over these lines, then we'd appreciate it. And what I mean by a framework is build out a matrix system of, is it in line with their content pillars? Yes. Does it align with their personal values? Yes. Does it align with the company policy and company values? No. Fine. That's your acid test. Don't post it. And a good example of this is, I was doing a keynote yesterday with a large consultancy here in the UK, and their whole thing was like, well, a lot of what we do is centered around economic change and acquisitions and mergers, and just obviously influenced by politics, right? So what if we want to be commenting on something, but it's political? And I said, turned to the chief of marketing officer, said, what's your policy on politics? And their policy is, we don't talk about politics. So there you go. There's your fence. So you can operate everything within that, talk hypothetically, give practical advice about how certain policies are going to impact the world and specific audiences, but just don't be political. And that's then your framework.
That's really good advice. Thank you so much, Amelia, for doing that. I'm going to go move on quickly through these questions. So we've literally only got 10 minutes left. Louise, is that how you pronounce your name? Sorry if I...
Morning. Well, kind of. It's Lois, but it's okay.
Lois. Did you want to go up and ask
sure.
a question?
Firstly, thank you guys so much for putting this together, because I literally stumbled on it an hour ago and was like, okay, I'll join it. So my question is, how do you balance currently doing a 9 to 5 and trying to build your personal brand where it's not exactly the same sector? I currently work in project management in tech, and I am quite passionate about mental health and, sort of writing and speaking on it. And I've sort of started doing something in that area. But how do you balance both worlds whilst obviously not affecting my normal job for now, and then also giving the time that my personal brand deserves?
Tima, did you want to jump in and answer the question?
Yeah, sure. So Lois, you're working full time at the moment,
yes.
Is that correct? And you want to,
yes.
And you want to be known for the mental health space. You want to sort of gradually move away from the tech space. So the first question I always ask anyone that's in this situation is just to check in with their employer and let them know what their plans are in terms of, creating content and putting some content out there. And most of the time, companies are actually pretty okay with that. So just to give them a bit of a heads up. And in terms of creating a balance, if you want to be known for the mental health space and there's really no need for you to create content for what you're currently doing for your current work, then I would just allocate a certain number of times a week that you want to post, something that's actually achievable. Don't overwhelm yourself about having to post every single day, because you're not looking to, build a million following audience, in the beginning. You just want to create habits in terms of, and build that confidence for you to share the topics that you actually want to talk about. And just make it really easy for yourself and just say, okay, I'm going to post twice a week on these days. And these are the 2 things that I'm going to talk about this week. And these are the 2 things I'm going to talk about next week. And what I would also suggest is to make it, again, really easy for yourself. Record yourself talking for about 5 or 10 minutes, and then going back to that and just breaking up those pieces into smaller topics, and then deciding whether you want to use that as video or whether you want to share it as a text post or a combination of all these sorts of things. So I think the easier you make it for yourself, the better it is for you, the less overwhelming it is, and the more it allows you to build that confidence and, again, that habit to post. Because I think that's probably more important than anything else in the beginning, is just building the habits and that confidence to be able to keep putting that content out there, because it can be overwhelming and also a little bit intimidating too in the beginning. So I hope that helps you. But if you would need any more, just direct message me and I can help you a little bit more behind the scenes.
Okay, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you so
Thanks,
much.
Belinda.
Thanks so much, Tima. I appreciate that. Caroline, you're next. Did you want to jump in and ask your question?
Yeah, thank you, ladies, for bringing me up here and being such a great inspiration for so many of us. I'm actually curious about one thing, and that is, did you guys have a mentor at some point, in your business growth or even with your personal brand strategy? And what are some of the people that you look up to and would recommend us to follow?
Do you want me to start, Belinda, or?
Yeah, absolutely. Whatever you feel comfortable with answering.
Okay, so in the beginning, sorry, Caroline, can you repeat your question? I don't know why I jumped in. Can you repeat your question?
Absolutely, no worries. So I was wondering if you had a mentor to help you with your personal brand or to help you with your business growth at some point in your career, and what are some of the people that you look up to recommend us to follow?
Okay, so when someone asks a question, you literally forget it in that moment. That's actually what happened to me. So in terms of business mentors in the beginning, I actually didn't. I'm not going to pretend and say I hired all these coaches. I didn't. I was moving away from financial planning and I wanted to be known for something totally different. And I started my personal branding journey from that point on. And what I did was I just focused on consistency. In terms of people that I was following at the time, a lot of them are not on LinkedIn anymore. But in terms of who to, look up to now, I guess, or even follow, I would say 100% both Belinda and Amelia, and there are a whole range of other people that I could send to you in a direct message. But in terms of mentorship and business growth, I actually have 3 coaches that I work with at the moment in terms of helping me build my business, helping me in many different ways. So I definitely believe in coaching. I definitely believe in mentorship. I mean, I pay all these people. They're not people that I just, asked for mentorship for free. So this is all paid coaching. And I'm very, very big on developing myself personally so that I can help grow my business. But in the beginning, building my brand, I just focused on consistency. And that's why I was saying to Lois earlier, is just to build that muscle and that habit to actually keep posting and creating content so that, you can just continue to be creative and connect with as many people as you can. So, but I don't know if Amelia wants to add anything else here.
Yeah, so I didn't have any formal mentors. Not because I didn't want them, but just because it just didn't work out that way. 99.999% of what I learned, certainly in the beginning of my business, I got learned from YouTube. Like, YouTube is one of the most amazing platforms out there. And if you're not on YouTube, get on it, because you can learn everything from how to build an IKEA PAX kit to how to grow a business and learn how to do management accounts. So yeah, I think the initial stage, like that first 6 months, was scrappy, dirty. Had no idea what I was doing, but sort of just figuring it out along the way. I'm obviously a lot more strategic now. I hire in consultants to help us with stuff, and I'm very, very, very aware of blind spots and very, very aware of how we need to fill those and building strategies around them. But I think the key thing is don't wait for someone to come and sort of help you with something in order to start. Most people who have built anything of any kind will tell you that, the hardest step is just starting something. So don't feel like you need someone's support in order to kind of push on and get going with it. From the personal branding perspective, again, I didn't have any coaching or mentorship at all. If anything, I can say that I had an employer previously, a COO of a business who actually also has a strong personal brand. So you can go and have a look at his name's Andrew McCaskill. I used to work for him, and he came to me one day and said, "Why the hell are you not sharing these?" So we were having this big discussion about marketing, and I was, in true Amelia fashion, had very strong opinions about things that we were doing and what we shouldn't be doing. And he said, "Why on earth don't you post that online?" I said, "Well, why would I?" And he said, "Well, we're a service-based business, so it makes sense for you to, as the product, to be, marketing these things, because it's going to help, attract people to the business." So
that it was that kind of conversation that kickstarted my personal branding journey. And to answer your question about key people to look up to, the thing is, I can give you a million people that do this well, but the reality of the matter is you can follow their blueprint to a certain degree, but they're not you, right? And you are not them. So I think the key thing is working out exactly what you want to be known for and who to be known to, and following that strategy will always come through for you, provided what you're saying is interesting, valuable, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, no, I didn't have any mentors. Not that I'm saying don't have them. I get asked all the time by people to mentor them, particularly on the business side. But I just think for me, it wasn't something that even crossed my radar at the time in which I launched my business and my personal brand.
B, I just want to add one more thing just to that. Caroline, one, in terms of mentors, as Amelia was speaking, I was just trying to remember what I was doing very, very early on. Two things I'd love to share with you is just literally get out of your comfort zone. Such a cliche term, but get out of your comfort zone. Commit to whatever it is that you want to commit to. My commitment was the first 10 days, I was posting a video a day, and I was just going to stick to that. That was my short-term goal. And as I was posting, I was looking at people's comments, really, really understanding what they were meaning and the messages that they were trying to send through with the comments, which was giving me an insight into the psychology behind my, at the time, as I was building my following, the direct messages. All of that behind the scenes is really going to help you build really incredible content that is going to be true to you and also help you build a following. We didn't really touch on this very much today, but direct messages are so incredibly important. That, in my opinion, is key to building a following, and a following of people that believe in what you are actually putting out there. So really just stick to a goal and commit to it. And believe me, I did not like pictures and I did not like video in the very beginning, but I stuck with that for the first 10 days, and that completely changed my life and my business doing that. So I hope that helps you.
And I just want to add, Caroline, to be honest, I'll tell you the truth. I actually started my personal brand because of Tima. I found Tima on LinkedIn. I loved everything she was posting, and I was like, oh my God, I need to post content. And Tima did I think at the time, it was so long ago, she did like a 30-day challenge. She was posting every day for 30 days, or she did a challenge across to LinkedIn to people to post for 30 days, every day, whatever it is, it doesn't matter, just post consistently for 30 days. And then from there, I built up my confidence to post every day. So Tima was actually one of the people to why I actually have a personal brand. So I just want to add that in there. Thank you so much for your question. Ameni, did you want to go next? I know we're running out of time, girls. Do you have another 5 minutes left? We're 8:05. Are you guys good with that?
Yes, I am.
Amelia, are you good for another 5? Okay, good. Ameni, did you want to quickly jump in and ask your question?
Yeah, sure. Thank you first for this inspirational session. Second, my question is mainly about the type of content we should post. Like, I'm just starting with personal branding on LinkedIn. I'm testing like different types of content. So I figured that people interact most with the content that is a little bit personal, like certain achievements or struggle I went through and then what I learned from it, rather than content about my profession or tips on how to do something better. So I was wondering, the conclusion I had is maybe I'm not presenting the professional content in the best way. So do you have any tips on how to improve it? Thank you.
Okay, so Amelia, did you want to answer this question? I'm constantly looking for the microphones to come off.
No worries. Can you repeat the question? Sorry.
Yeah, sure. You didn't hear everything or just part of it?
I'll quickly just jump in and let the girls know. So she's basically saying that she gets more comments and engagement on her personal content versus business content, and she wants to understand why that is and what she should be doing with that.
Sure. I mean, look, that's always going to be the case, right? Like people buy from people. I think going back to what we were talking about earlier is there needs to be a key strategy. So the way that we align our clients' content, and this is probably worth jotting down for anyone that kind of wants the secret sauce of how we get our clients like 70, 80, 100,000 followers on LinkedIn, is we follow this. So on a Monday, we will get them to post a personal post. Now, a personal post, it could be anything from, you know, your story about how you got to where you are. It could be something about mental health, whatever it might be, but it needs to be something that's like a human story, right? Something that a lot of people can relate to. And the reason why we do that on the Monday is that's got the most likelihood of going viral because of the nature, as you pointed out, you get a lot more engagement on your more personal stuff, right? So when you share personal stuff, you're much more likely to get more eyeballs because people give a shit about what you are going through, right? It's the reason why the Kardashians are so famous and we all sit there and watch the TV. Well, I don't, but millions of people sit there and watch them on TV sitting around a kitchen table eating salads all day. It's because people care what other people are doing, right? And that's why your personal content does really well. To niche it down a little bit into commenting on stuff that's specifically happening or specifically impact our client industry, right? So something's trending on LinkedIn news, say, you know, MailChimp's just gone through a merger and our client works in business acquisition. So we'd want them to be giving a comment on that particular thing happening. Same thing on a Wednesday. On a Thursday, this is where you add your value. This is where you give people free, valuable information. What can you teach people about the thing that you do so they can do it for themselves for free, right? This is a really important part of personal branding. And this is the stuff that's not necessarily going to get you loads of engagement, loads of likes, whatever, but it's going to position you as an expert in your space. So all the people that are viewing your content at the beginning of the week or the personal stories, all those eyeballs, they're really important. Because within those eyeballs, there's going to be people that specifically want to buy the thing that you're selling, and you're not going to be able to show them that you're the person they should buy from unless you're providing them with that value. So that could be things, back to my example a second ago, you know, if you work in business mergers and acquisitions, you know, what makes deals go wrong? What makes deals go right? How would you structure this thing? What, you know, what, when your experience, what have you seen that goes well? Give people all the information to do your job for free. 99% of them won't do it, and they'll pay you to do it for them. And then the final piece of this strategy, on a Friday, we post what we call a hook post, which is basically a sales post without selling. It's called a hook post because it follows the jab, 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 right hook, analogy, which I think is a Gary Vee thing. The right hook post is where you share the value that you provide to your customers, to your clients, with results. So for me, that might be a screen grab of the followers we've increased for our clients, or the ROI we've achieved for our clients over a period of time through like a screenshot of a text message or screenshot of an analytics dashboard, whatever it might be. And I will say in the body of the post, here is what we've achieved for this client. I love my job. There is no part of me that goes, come and buy what I'm selling, because I don't need to ask people to buy what I'm selling. Number one, it devalues my worth if I'm asking you to buy what I'm selling. But number two, let your clients, let your customers sell what you're selling for you. If you're providing value with results, people that have been looking at your viral or potentially viral personal stuff, and then have niched down through the things that you're talking about specifically to the value that you can provide, if they're the right customer, eventually you will push them through to the funnel after weeks and weeks and weeks, or months and months and months, which is the more realistic version of following you. They will see you post that results post and go, damn, that's the person that I want to work with. That's the right person for me. So I think it's really important that there is a balance, right? Don't only post personal stuff, but there needs to be a quantity and a quality element here. You cannot get the quantity of eyeballs you need in order to get the quality leads if you're only posting, just pure kind of information, is my personal opinion.
And with the business posts, Amini, I'll have a look at your profile later, and I'll send you some pointers if you like. The copywriting is so incredibly important. The writing piece, like, I cannot stress enough. You can have beautiful graphics and all these things, but if your writing is not going to cut through that noise and really capture people's attention, because when you think about it, we're all scrolling. What is going to make that person stop at your post above anybody else's? Your headline has to be, enough for someone to stop and kind of want to look and then click on that see more button. And one thing that I tell some of the entrepreneurs that I work with is, what is that question that person, your audience, is typing into Google? What are those words that they're using? So really try and think of, because we can get really technical in our own worlds and our own industries and use those words in our posts, but it's just not going to work, not as well as using the same terminology and thinking as your audience. So it could possibly be as simple as minor tweaks in your copy, especially when it comes to the business post, because like Amelia said, personal stories and personal posts will always do a lot better than business focused posts. But the business ones need to be straight to the point. Well, they don't always need to be, but that is definitely one way to do it, and just very educational, practical, free advice. But I'll definitely have a look at your profile and give you some tips, Amini. So, but I hope that helps you and everybody else on this audio.
Thank you so much, Tima and Amelia. It was really helpful. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Amani, for your question. We're so close to running out of time, guys. I've got a jet in a few minutes. I really want to get everyone to ask their question, but I'm just going to make Joanne the last question on the panel. For everyone else that wanted to ask questions to Amelia and Tima, if you don't mind, can they jump into your DMs direct and ask the question? I'm sure you girls will be nice enough to answer whatever questions that they had. I do apologize. Joanne, did you want to jump in and ask your question quickly?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Belinda. Lucky to be the last one. My question is similar to, I know I'm also in her situation where I have a full-time job in one industry, but have a side hustle in a second one. And my question is, how do you combat imposter syndrome, especially at the beginning, when you're first starting out and people come to you? And, like, my biggest fear is people going, who are you to tell me what to do?
Hi, Joanne. I love that question. I think look, I'm going to be super honest with you. Everyone gets imposter syndrome. This is not just when you're starting out. Like, every single day, something comes onto my desk that I go, how the hell am I going to do this? Because I'm not qualified to be doing this, right? Everyone experiences, regardless of where you are in your journey. It's not just when you're first starting out. So please don't think that, this is something that is exclusive to when you're starting out. Your problems and your imposter syndrome just gets larger as you go on. But I think the key thing here for me is when you start thinking about imposter syndrome as a concept, right? What is that? Well, it's just self-doubt. And self-doubt is what makes you human. It's not a syndrome. It's not some medical thing that we all need to be, have symptoms of, right? I think when we say things like imposter syndrome, it labels something up and almost makes it seem like a negative thing. Self-doubt isn't a negative thing. If anything, self-doubt is your body saying to you, hey, this thing's quite scary because we're not 100% sure how it's going to go. And to me, that's like, okay, that's a great indicator then that I should be doing that thing because that's a gap in my knowledge. So if you can reframe your imposter syndrome as, who am I to be qualified to saying this to, I'm only going to get qualified to say this unless I do this thing. I also think, just if I can reframe it from an outsider's perspective, there are very few people in the world that are going to look at the value that you are going to add, Joanne, and you strike me as someone who's smart and knows exactly what they're talking about, regardless of how they feel personally about their knowledge. There's very few people in the world who are going to turn around and go, well, who are you to say that? Right? So I think you have to kind of be a bit pragmatic about these things and go, is this the reality or is this just a thought? Because thoughts aren't real. And when we start thinking about thoughts not being real, then it becomes a lot easier to move forward. And I do appreciate that I have the how hard can it be gene, so I'm potentially a bit more confident and maybe delusional than others. But I really think that you can just push through that stuff by reframing imposter syndrome as self-doubt and recognizing that self-doubt is what makes you human, and self-doubt is the indicator that you need to go, right, that is the thing that I need to be doing right now.
And I'd love to add to that too, Amelia. I know it's the last question, Belinda. These topics are some of my favorite. I create a lot of content around mindset and those sorts of things. But Joanne, as Amelia said, imposter syndrome, it really is this fear that you're feeling and these negative thoughts that you're experiencing, and we all do. One, we can never get rid of negative thoughts in the way that we would like to. And this feeling of fear is a reminder of who you're capable of. And I genuinely believe in that. Now, in terms of, why would you create content? Why would anybody listen to you? Because this is another fear that we have, another question that we have. And I'm such a big believer in this, that there is nobody in this world that has the same combination as your DNA, your life experience, your personal experiences, your business experience, your business knowledge, your perspective of the world, your value system, your thought process, and the way you communicate your thoughts with the world. Nobody in this world has that combination but you, and nobody will be able to create content and put themselves out there in the same way that you can. So that's what I would love to say about that.
Thanks, guys. That's really helpful.
Yeah, thank you so much. What a great way to end this session on imposter syndrome and fear. It's so true. We constantly always think that we can't do it, or why the fuck are we in this position that we're in? How did we get here? What am I actually doing? It's so true. Thank you so much, Joanne, for jumping on and asking a question. I'm going to wrap it up and thank everybody for jumping on this session LinkedIn audio. For anybody that doesn't know, we run these every fortnight. Sometimes we kind of mix it up and talk about certain topics that people want to know, but mostly around Web 2, Web 3, blockchain, and overall, I guess, business. So I just want to thank Amelia and Tima so much for jumping on and taking your time for an hour to answer everybody's questions, and obviously giving your knowledge for free on personal branding. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Did you girls want to maybe jump in and quickly end something that you didn't mention or you would like to mention lastly to the audience before we wrap up?
Yeah, I just want to say, first of all, B, thank you so much for arranging this. You are, I know Tima said it earlier, but you are the queen of networking. And I think maybe you should do another one of these, and I'll host it and I'll ask you questions about networking, because I think it's a really important topic to talk about in context of building your personal brand and also creating opportunities for yourself. What I'd love to leave you with is, you don't have to build your personal brand, right? It's one thing for us to sit here and be like, you need to build your personal brand, here's how you do it. You don't have to, but your opportunities and your life will be significantly better if you do. And what I mean by that is, there are so many rooms currently where people are talking about things that you could potentially be involved in. And there's a room full of strangers somewhere who are asking questions around, how can we find someone to help us with this thing? Does anyone know someone? You are not going to get in those rooms if nobody knows who the fuck you are. It's not enough to be the best known. It's not enough to be the best at what you do. You have to be the best known at what you do if you want strangers to be talking about you in rooms full of opportunity. And that is what personal branding does. So you don't have to do it, but your life will be much better if you do.
Tima, did you want to end anything that you would like to say or mention?
Well, I had my little mini, keynote sermon / motivational piece before. Thank you so much, Bea, for this amazing room, and just for everyone that attended. To be honest, I mean, I really have nothing more to add, but thank you for including me. And if anybody wants to reach out to me, has any specific questions that we didn't cover off, and you'd like any more help, just reach out to me. So thanks, Belinda. And I agree, Amelia, we need to have Belinda on stage and talk about networking, because she is definitely the networking queen.
Thank you so much, everyone. It was such a good session. We'll see you next time.